My sisters and brothers, I've come to discover that all of us are heading somewhere. That we have a desire, we have drive, we have sometimes motivation to move from where we are to where we desire to be. But I've come to realize that in this life, my sisters and brothers, because of the difficulties, because of the challenges, because of the dismal realities that we face, some of us come and get to the point where we wonder if we'll ever make it to our destination. What I've come to find also, my sisters and brothers, is that even when we take detours in life, God can use them to bless us. Have you ever been at a place in a detour in your life where you found yourself somewhere where you didn't expect to be, desire to be, but somehow you were there? Maybe you were like the disciples in the boat after having their lives completely turned upside down and they're just trying to figure out how to move forward. Maybe you have found yourself in trying to move forward feeling as if you've drifted further and further away from the shores of life. I don't know about you, but there are times where we are upset with ourselves, frustrated, feeling as if we failed, and then yet somehow God shows up and shows out. Yes, my sisters and brothers, there are moments where we come to realize that even though we have left the shores of our promise, the shores of our destiny, the shores of what God is doing in our lives, that the Lord can even bless us as we're getting back to the shore. Oh yes, as we're getting back to the shore of our relationships, getting back to the shore of our mental health, getting back to the shore of our education, whatever it may be, as we desire to get back to where we were, I found that God can still bless us. God can still even prepare us. God can even use our experiences for our good. If you don't believe me, journey with me to the Gospel according to John here as we look at the 21st chapter of the Gospel according to John, as we see the disciples attempting, striving, and moving to get back to shore. Now, as you all know from last week, as we talked about getting back on the boat, the disciples had found themselves not only having an experience and an encounter with Jesus post-resurrection, but they were trying to live beyond and do ministry beyond their mistakes. These are the same people who abandoned Jesus. These are the same people who went and hid in fear and trembling. And yet now here we come to find that they're trying to rebuild their lives and figure out what to do next. Now that they are at this particular point in their ministry. You remember, you know what has happened up to this point. You recognize that what has transpired, and yet it is when they see Jesus that they desire to come back to shore. As they were trying to do it all on their own, they decided to get out into the boat. As they were trying to figure out how to make it happen all by themselves, they wanted to go back to what they were doing previously. As they were thinking that they had to figure it out all by themselves, that's what drove them to get into the boat and try to figure out how they would move forward. But the text tells us that the disciple whom Jesus loved says to Peter, "It is the Lord." They recognize that it's the Lord, and now they decide and desire to get back to the shore. Yes, my sisters and brothers, there's something special when we see Jesus operating in our lives.